Hi, this is Heidi from Garden Crossings, and we are out in the landscape today, and I've had a lot of questions on how to trim the hydrangeas, which hydrangeas to trim, etc. So we're going to walk through the garden and I'm going to show you the different hydrangeas and kind of tell you what you should do with them. So here we have a bed of, these are the smooth hydrangeas. So these are the mini mauvettes, the wee whites, and the limettas. And you can see here on this one here, this one's not been trimmed yet, but these two here have been. So you can see how we've trimmed this one down. We've cut it in about half, got rid of the flowers. Well, here's one flower that's still remaining, but we got rid of all the flowers and trimmed it down to about 12 inches or so. So the smooth hydrangeas, they bloom off of the new growth, so you don't need to worry about if you trim too much or where to trim exactly. Smooth hydrangeas will bloom off the new growth, so they can be trimmed in the fall or in the spring before they start growing. Here we have the incredible hydrangea. This is a smooth hydrangea that blooms off of its new growth. So if you have an incredible hydrangea in your garden, what you can do is, if you want to trim it back, you can trim it in the fall or in the spring. We're going to go in and take a closer look at this hydrangea so I can show you where this one was trimmed last year. And again, if you want to take just the flowers off, that's fine. If you want to cut the plant in half, that's fine. Or if you feel like it's getting just way too big and you want to kind of let it start over, you can go down to about 12 inches. So let's take a look inside this plant and see where it has been trimmed in the past. So as I kind of open this up here, you can see way down here in the bottom, it's been trimmed down to 12 inches. We've done that when we've wanted to do more of an aggressive trim on it. If we don't want to do quite as an aggressive trim, we're going to trim it in half, and you can see here, that would be about half the plant, and that would be an also fine place to trim it. But again, you don't have to worry about if you did too much or too little, because no matter where you trim this, it's going to come off of the new growth, the flowers next season. We're in the garden today with the big leaf hydrangeas, and many people have been asking, what do I do now that it's fall? So with big leaf hydrangeas, there are several different types. There are the ones that bloom off of the old growth, which is what most of them do. And there are also some reblooming hydrangeas, which will bloom off of old growth and new growth. Most people are not sure which type they have. So the best advice I can give you is do not trim. Because if you go and trim your big leaf hydrangeas, a couple problems are going to happen. Number one, you're going to trim off the blooms, the potential blooms for next year. So if you just leave them, your chances are better that it will bloom for you next year. Now, there are some people who are like, my hydrangeas never bloom, no matter what I do. If I leave them, if I don't leave them, they just never bloom. And that is because in the winter, especially here in the colder areas, a lot of times the buds will do winter kill. So let me go in and show you on these plants what we have and where your potential next year blooms are starting to form. So as we go in and take a look here at these plants, you'll notice tucked in here, that is next year's growth. We do not want to trim the plant off because potentially you'll be getting rid of next year's blooms. Also, if you look down the leaf just a little bit, you'll see here, this here is all things you want to leave on the hydrangea for next year. By trimming this plant back, you're getting rid of any potential chances of flowers for next year. So the best advice I can give you is if you have a big leaf hydrangea, do not trim it unless you're very confident that it is a rebloomer. And even at that, I recommend not trimming back your big leaf hydrangeas. Now, if you have a big leaf hydrangea that is huge and you're like, it's just too big, I don't like it, that's fine. Go ahead, trim it back 1/3, 2/3, whatever it is you need to do to make it feel like it's the size you want it to be. But understand, you will be sacrificing your blooms for next year. But sometimes we need to do that to get our plants back down in check to the size that we want them. Out in the garden today, I am looking at the hardy hydrangeas. So if you have a hardy hydrangea in your garden and you're wondering when is the time for me to trim this plant, the time is now. It is fall, and these can be trimmed in the fall or in the spring. Hardy hydrangeas are one of the easiest hydrangeas to grow. They bloom off of the new growth. So you don't have to worry about, did I trim it at the wrong time of year or not? So what I'm going to do with this hardy hydrangea is I like to leave the flowers on for winter interest, but if you're like, I don't like that look and you want to trim it, that's fine. I would go ahead and take about 1/3 of this plant off. So cutting it down into here would get rid of most of those flowers. Then I'd go around the edges and remove, just get rid of, that off the rest of the plant. But if you have a plant that's very tall and it's taller than what you really want for your location, it's okay to be more aggressive. You can take these hardy hydrangeas, I've taken it down to 12 inches, that's very aggressive. But if you want to take it down to 3 foot or so, don't be afraid to do that. Your hardy hydrangeas, like I said, they bloom off of the new growth. So if you're getting rid of this growth now, you're not sacrificing your blooms for next summer. So go ahead, get out in your gardens and trim back those hardy hydrangeas if you're feeling like doing it this fall. This is Heidi from Garden Crossings.